Absolute geezers, welcome to another edition of the Sunday Social. But before we start the niceties, I wanted to time it that I go like, doom. Welcome, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. Joined, as always by my lovely hosts, Vaughan A and Coin A. How are you doing, gents?
Better than you, mate.
It's all right.
As you can see, ladies and gents, I'm not wearing my Kaito apparel t-shirt. I've had an absolute mare. I'm going to be completely honest. I went out yesterday, tried to drink like a 19-year-old, and woke up feeling like a 90-year-old this morning. So I'm not in the best of nick, but hey, we're here. That's the main thing. Big shout out to Robin Hartley. Evening, mate. Hope you're doing very well. Thanks for joining us as always. Now, before we start, Vaughnie, Coily, I don't know if we need to host a minute's silence for football, as it looks like the game is about to disappear from the fans' grasp. I think news coming out, which we'll discuss later on, about that European Super League. Plenty to talk about tonight as well, though. We've got talk about the league restructure. There's so much happening in non-league at the moment. I seem to be losing track about what's happening. Obviously, just before we went live today, we had that news whilst Man United were playing that. The European Super League looks like it's going to be happening. Absolute disgrace. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about with that. And then also we've got a bit from Coiny with regards to what happened up north today in Scotland. So plenty to talk about. But as always,
in Celtic's case.
Sorry?
Or didn't happen in Celtic's case.
It's a write-off for a mate, isn't it? I think it's a write-off. Just before we continue, just to remind you, as always, we are sponsored by Kaito Apparel. Make sure you... two of us are tonight. Make sure you have a look at their website. I'll put the link below. They do all sorts of great stuff with T-shirts. Sadly, not this one tonight.
I better get it right this week as well, don't I?
Yeah, not the Todd brothers.
Not the Todd brothers, the Kyle brothers.
Perry
brothers.
The Perry brothers. Jesus Christ. So guys, as always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell. That'll let you know when we are live, when there's content coming out. And also just share this with your friends. Let's get this out there as much as possible. All the niceties have started. Here we go. Nice trim Coiny, you're looking devilishly handsome tonight. I must say it's been a journey, hasn't it, with that hair?
Yeah, I don't think some of the players recognised me this morning. Without me cap.
Is that why you won?
Yeah, potentially, mate. Yeah. Never have to wear that cap again now, hopefully.
Honestly, mate, I don't know what's happening here, but Dave Roberts is straight in with you, mate. Coiny is used to having a minute's silence in memory of football every time he goes to park, haven't you? Look at Coiny's face.
I was with Dave yesterday in the car, and within about 3-4 minutes into the car journey, he was taking the mick out of you, Coiny. So it doesn't surprise he's getting stuck in early.
You know. What's the point? What's the point in winning games when there's nothing to play for? You know, Aber will keep their powder dry until next season, won't they?
Do you know what's going to end up happening? You saw that that boxing fiasco last night with the YouTuber fighting that bloke. It's going to be Coiny against David Roberts in a charity boxing match. I can see it. Evening, Steve Pinder. Thanks for joining us, mate. Hope you're well. Again, as always, we see a lot of people who are with us every week here, so we thank you so much for your support. Let's get into the big one. Now, the big one today, coming out about this proposed European League. First and foremost, I think it's an utter disgrace. I think it's an utter disgrace. I think the clubs that are involved in it are making an absolute mockery of the league that they play in. And I actually, as a United fan, feel let down by my club. I feel like they're shitting on the fans from a massive height. What about you, lads?
From my side of things, I think it's selfish. I also think it'll never happen. I'll be honest. Money talks, but when you look at UEFA's response and you look at FIFA's response, and they're talking about saying if you play in that league, then you won't be allowed to play in any domestic competitions or potentially any international competitions.
Yeah.
Then why? And then looking at going down the legal route as well.
Yeah.
Why would these clubs? Why would those clubs put themselves in a situation where they could find themselves, just completely taking themselves away from the FA, FIFA, and UEFA? I mean, it's just such a minefield, isn't it? But looking at the clubs themselves, honestly, I think it's ridiculously selfish.
Yeah,
and so short-sighted. They're not thinking about the fans.
No. Coyne's audio's gone.
It's gone, isn't it? Shall I fill in?
Yeah, I love the fact it went when he was getting right into the middle of a proper rant. Then just, I love you, Coyne. I love you, mate. Can you hear us? Hang on a minute. Right, hang on. Let's see if there's anything I can do. I can't do it, bud. I can't unmute you. I think you tell it right. I've removed him. He's gonna sort out his technical issues.
He's gonna come back in.
He's gonna come back in. Whilst we're waiting for Coyne, and before I get your views there, Vorney, Michael Pinches says, "Evening out ball bags." He must be referring to your head there, Coyne. Vorney, sorry, I'm going to Coyne. He's not even here.
Busy lad.
Busy. Robin Hartley has said one word: greed. I completely agree. I think. Oh, he's definitely gone. Eric Kenny, welcome, Eric. Hope you're well, buddy. Leicester for the league, and we'll talk about that. What this means for clubs around them. And David Roberts, let them go. Good riddance to the bad rubbish. I get that. I personally, I don't see it. I'm on the fence with Coyne. I can't see it happening. What about you, Vorney?
No, I don't think so either. I think. I think the clubs have obviously said what they've said this afternoon. The announcement has come out, and the backlash actually has been the correct backlash, isn't it? Obviously, supporters are never ever going to be happy with the proposal that's come out. But with UEFA and FIFA coming out and being more vocal about it, the FA. The thing that I quite like as well is the stance that Bayern Munich have made on it, because Bayern Munich would be one of these top 11, 12 sides. They've come out and sort of refuted it and said, no, we don't want to be any part of that. And PSG have done the same as well. So fair play to them. I think what annoys me really a little bit really about the six or supposed six clubs in England that are breaking away. I mean, okay, Manchester United, Liverpool and Arsenal, okay, over the last sort of 60, 70, 80, 90 years have been the most successful sides in English football. But when you've got sort of, some of the Johnny-come-latelys like Man City and Chelsea that are only there really purely because the money has propelled them to where they are, and then they're wanting to break away. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, really? And then you spin Tottenham into it. I don't really know where Tottenham fit into that, really, to be quite honest.
I think they just want to play in Europe, don't they? It's the only chance in the bloody out.
I mean, the thing is, these clubs are looking to break away and we want to be part of this European Super League. Man United, Arsenal, they're not even in the Champions League this season, are they?
Yeah, no.
So
do you know what? I'm in a group, a Facebook group with some chaps for fantasy football, and one of them's a Spurs fan. He's even turned around and said, if this was to happen, he'd find a new club. He said, I couldn't support my team. And can you hear us, Coyne?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Spot on. We'll come back to your point in a second.
Back in the room.
I think if ever there was an opportunity for fans across Europe to unite and fight the bloody system, this has to be the opportunity now, because it's absolutely atrocious what they're looking at doing. And let's have this right: the people that are being mentioned, who are going to be on the board of this league, the owners of the big clubs. So Ed Woodward, John Henry, is it? I think the guy from Madrid, Perez. I can't understand it. It makes a mockery of the Premier League. It makes a mockery of La Liga, but more importantly, it makes a mockery of the European Cup. You know, where we've witnessed such heartbreak in that competition. You know, clubs. The infamous, Munich Air disaster, it just pisses all over that. It absolutely makes a mockery of what these people fought for to win these competitions, to fight back, to get what they deserve. In this, they are absolutely wiping it away. And I've got to be honest, I was angry last week. I'm fuming this week. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know any fans that have come out publicly. I've been reading bits and pieces on Twitter before we sort of came on, and I don't think anybody is actually agreeing with it. This is supporters of the clubs as well, so even they're kind of coming out and saying it's a nonsense as well. So the only backing this seems to have got is from the 6 breakaway clubs. Everyone else just seems to be.
The clubs that you've got that are mentioned, you've got the ones from the Premier League, as we stated: Arsenal, Spurs, Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, and Chelsea. And then from Italy, you've got AC Milan, Juventus, and Inter Milan. From Spain at the moment, Madrid and Atletico. I'm not sure if it would be Barcelona's bag, if I'm honest. I'm not sure if Barcelona would want to associate themselves with it, if I'm being frank.
Barcelona are one of the 3 so far.
Oh, are they? There you go then.
Yeah, there's 3. Yeah, 3 from La Liga. Yeah, it's Real, Barcelona, and Atletico. Yeah.
It's just a joke. It's an absolute joke. Robin Hartley says, so much history and tradition up in smoke. Ashamed to be a Liverpool fan tonight, to be honest. And do you know what, Robin? I think that goes across the board. I think everyone, me being a fan of Man United, I absolutely detest what's happening. And the fact that they're going to come out and make this, because I think it's imminent, isn't it, that the clubs are actually going to come out tonight and release statements about this. Now, one thing I did do, because I like to get a slide or two, I did go onto Twitter and I got the official statement from the FA. So we've got here, the FA has been made aware of certain English clubs planning to form a closed European Super League with other European clubs. It is clear that this would be damaging to English and European football at all levels and will attack the principles of open competition and sporting merit, which are fundamental to competitive sport. They then go on to say, for new competitions to be formed involving clubs from different associations, approval would be required from the relevant national associations, confederation, and or FIFA. We would not provide permission to any competition that would be damaging to English football, and will take any legal or regulatory action necessary to prevent the broader interests of the game. We know FIFA confirmed earlier this year that they and the 6 confederations would not like to recognise any competition, and as such, any player or club involved may not be permitted to participate in any official competition which falls within the auspices of FIFA or their respective confederation. Finally saying, the FA will continue to work with UEFA, FIFA and the Premier League to ensure that nothing is approved and has the potential to damage English football. We will work with the fans, the Premier League, EFL, PFA and LMA, as well as any stakeholders at home and abroad, to defend the integrity and future prospects of English football in the best interest of the game. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? You can tell that the FA are absolutely livid.
3 words absolutely jump out there to me, Dan. First and foremost, sporting merit. Like I said, it just completely takes that away. It's the rich boys at the top who want to dictate the sport as a whole. There's not been absolutely nothing said about promotion relegation to the Super League, and how would you decide that anyway as a start? What about the lesser countries? Yeah. What about fantastic football clubs who win the national leagues regularly, like Ajax, for example? A club with great European tradition, Benfica, Sporting Lisbon from Portugal. I know PSG weren't mentioned, by the way,
They've said no.
They've said no.
Yeah, they've said no to it. They don't want any part of it.
That's interesting. And the other word as well was integrity. Well, let's be honest. The guys who have come up with this idea and pushed forward with it, the guys at the top of these clubs, they couldn't even spell integrity, could they?
Without doubt.
They don't know the meaning of the word. They really don't. It's guys, and this was the point I was going to make before, by the way. It's guys who just do not understand football running these clubs. They do not understand the sport. They see these clubs as a plaything. And look no further than the club you support, Dan. Look what the Glazers did to Man United 15 years ago, putting a club that was in the black into £700 million worth of debt.
Yep.
But I wouldn't want these clowns anywhere near my club.
No,
honestly.
No.
Here.
And this is the issue. This is the issue. You've got people coming into these clubs. They don't care about history. They don't care about integrity. They just think about one thing, and that's money signs. I can guarantee that and I'll go through the format we've got here. So it will be 16 permanent teams, 4 qualifiers from domestic competitions to get into the league other than them, 2 groups of 10 with top 4 qualifying for knockout stages. Now, are you telling me that you're playing Barcelona, Madrid, let's go week in, week out? It just gets boring. That's why we love the European Cup, because you think, oh my God, we're in the quarterfinals, we're playing Real Madrid, man. This is what we watch football for.
By the way, on a completely lesser scale, and this is maybe something that Dave Roberts could comment on as well. The Welsh Premier operates a system where you can play clubs. Well, you can play clubs 4 times in the regular league season, and you can play them again in the playoffs. You can play them again in 2 cup competitions. I think Aberystwyth played Carmarthen 7 times in one season, or even maybe 8, and it does just get boring. Yeah. It's the same faces. It's very similar matches because the teams know each other so well. It completely takes any excitement out of the game. And again, for me, the Welsh Premier, when they did that in 2010, for me, they've not improved the product. They've not improved the product in 10 years.
And I'd put it into an international sort of context as well. You've got the World Cup, you've got the Euros. These things happen every 4 years, and they happen every 4 years for a good reason, don't they? It's something, we all look forward to it as well, though, don't we? We all look forward to, England play quarterfinals of World Cup or a second round, or you play somebody in the group stages of European Championships. You look forward to those games. And just imagine if that was happening every 12 months. Well, it would lose its appeal. It would just, integrity as well, as you mentioned before, isn't it? The whole thing just
we've got some
nonsense, absolute nonsense.
Got some more comments coming in. So Steve Pinder says, criminal, the FA should deduct points and money of those involved, as Gary Neville has suggested. He then goes on to say, how can you have a league with no relegation? Crazy. And the simple answer to that, Bud, is money, isn't it? It's just going to be a cash cow for these.
Well, it's just going to be a closed shop for these top teams, isn't it?
Well, with the closed shop, what would be really interesting is if they ran it for, say, 5 years. And let's take Tottenham, for example. Okay, Tottenham have won nothing for a long time as it is. What would happen if they were then finishing bottom of this European Super League every year? Would they work back in the Premier? Would they work back in the English Premier League in 5 years' time? Because they say, actually, we might have a chance of winning that now. And then if I was the FA, if that was the case, you've made your bed, go and lie in it.
Go and enjoy your life.
Do you know what else it does? I'll tell you what else it does. Do you remember we had the conversation a couple of weeks ago about my views on San Marino shouldn't be allowed anywhere near these massive tournaments, and they shouldn't be allowed to do. What does this do in the FA Cup when we see these non-league teams get through to the bloody, every now and then they'll get through to the third round and they'll draw massive clubs. This is not being disrespectful to the teams that would stay in there, by the way. But Barrow and Barrow and League Two, but Barrow, getting through to the third round and they're rewarded with an away trip to Burnley. Do you know what I mean? It takes all that bit away of it as well for these smaller clubs. Eric Kenny goes on to say, one of the main reasons I started supporting United was its history and the way the club was run. I will not watch some greedy Super League. I'll be done with football. I actually agree, and I think that will be possibly the case. I think a lot of fans will start to I say switch allegiances, but stop watching the clubs that they.
Can I just play devil's advocate for a second here, Dan? Is this actually good news for some non-league sides?
In what sense?
Well,
supporters filtering out.
Drive fans away from
United
and maybe to FC United and Manchester or the new Bury club.
Yeah.
Salford City in League One, League Two.
That's a very good question, Coiny, and people watching, because there's a lot of people who love non-league that watch this program. Let us know. That is a really, really good point, Coiny. Does this mean that more supporters will filter down into non-league to watch their local teams?
Maybe not even that far down, Dan. Really, to be quite, because I mean, I think even in League One and League Two, attendances are up, aren't they? So I mean, certainly sort of only looking at it selfishly from a Shrewsbury point of view, but you kind of go back sort of 20 odd years ago. If we got 3,000 or 4,000 on a Saturday, that was a good gate. If we get 3,000 or 4,000 now, it's disappointing, as Coiny will say. Not so many people are going to Liverpool or Manchester United because of the cost of it. Cost has driven a lot of people away from it.
Yeah. 20 years ago at the old ground, I mean, 2,500 was a good attendance some seasons.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the same for a lot of League One and League Two clubs. I think, this filtering down of the support and bums on seats at a lower level, it doesn't go quite as well. It will go as far as non-league, but it doesn't need to kind of drop down that quickly so far. A lot of League One and League Two clubs can benefit from this as well.
Yeah. Proper clubs.
Yes, absolutely, proper clubs.
Proper clubs. Yeah. Robin Hartley says, according to the FA statement, players for these teams may never get to play for their countries again. And I tried to hide this word because I hadn't got a clue how to say it, so I just went, and I was amazed that Coiny didn't pull me up on that, of UEFA and FIFA. And that's another...
I thought you were just slurring, mate, because you're hungover.
I feel like it. And that's the thing, though. Are you telling me that players like Harry Kane, we're never going to get to see players like Harry Kane playing for... I'm just going by what potentially could happen here. Players like Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, Marcus Rashford. The list is endless of these players that wouldn't play for their countries again. It won't happen. It can't happen. Surely the players will say, we ain't doing this. We don't want to do this.
You'd hope so.
Well, yeah.
Surely they would, from a player's point of view, why would you want to play the same teams 4 times a season or whatever it will be? Yeah. Why would you want to play in a competition with no promotion or relegation? Surely you wouldn't develop as a footballer playing in that sort of environment. It does not make sense at all.
From a competitive point of view, it's not good, is it? Because to be quite honest, at the end of the day, there's only so many teams that can win it or kind of whatever. So, like you said, Tottenham, you would think would be the weak link in all of this without trying to single one team out. And you're right. After 5 or 6 games, they're bottom. Well, they ain't going to be winning it, are they? So, that's.
I'll tell you why Tottenham. I'll tell you a reason why Tottenham
United. The European Super League.
Well, no, but I'll tell you why Tottenham, United, and Arsenal. I'll tell you why they're a bang on to go into it. They've all got debt because of stadiums, because of they're thinking one thing. Oh, we can clear this. We can make a lot of money from this. That's the only reason they're doing it. They don't want to go there and win this prestigious shite bloody cup that they haven't even got a bloody name for yet. David Roberts says Coiny is correct. Bloody hell, you two agreeing together. Must be a check the moon tonight. It does get boring playing the same teams all the time. He then goes on to say it made me walk away from following Man City when the money men started turning up. Hence one of the reasons why I now follow Carmarthen Town. Fantastic that is to hear. And then Robin also says it's like the NFL, same teams year in, year out. And it is. I kind of get the feeling that they are trying to follow that sort of structure, aren't they, with this idea? It's almost like franchises only. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose with a lot of foreign owners, then I suppose that will probably come into play, won't they? Because they won't be sort of so aware of the traditional values of what exists within sort of like the English game or the UK game as a whole, whether it's Welsh, Irish, Scottish, or whatever, will they? So, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of this is if we're talking about the fans. Well, the fans are the last thing on these guys' minds. They're just interested in TV deals and everything else that sort of goes with it, aren't they? They're just sort of pandering to an armchair audience. At the end of the day, the likes of us three that go to games and the guys that are commenting on here tonight, this is nothing to do with giving those guys entertainment. It's got absolutely nothing to do with it whatsoever, is it?
No, well, UEFA and it's just come up now. UEFA and the FA have both come out and condemned it. And do you know what? I would absolutely. I'd destroy any club wanting to do this. I really would, because it's got to be a breach of some sort of contract. I don't know. I mean, surely there's contracts we have to enter into anyway. But they must be breaching something, because this is just absolutely it's the worst thing that could happen to football, isn't it? Without a doubt. I remember Again, I'm a bit younger than you, Vaughan, but when the Premier League started, what was the hype around that? People weren't really happy with that, were they?
No, I mean it is a little bit of, I suppose, hypocrisy from the FA, and kind of like saying, well, it's the integrity X, Y, and Z, blah blah blah, and everything that kind of goes with that, and all the money and everything, and it's like, well, actually, yeah, in all fairness, over these years, they've had it good with the the Premier League. Now, okay, I suppose that extra revenue, whilst the clubs at the top have got richer and richer and richer, clubs a bit further down the scale, that divide has opened up and the gap has opened. But some of that money does filter down, not as much as it should.
Yeah.
But it's it's quite funny that actually the FA going on a high horse about it, really, isn't it? Because to be quite honest, they've not been white and white over the sort of last 20 years or so.
No. I think the difference with '92 and the advent of the Premier League was that was done under the guidance of a governing body. I mean, it was the FA Carling Premiership, wasn't it, in the first few years? Now it's the FA Premier League, so it was done under the guidance of a governing body who already had a controlling interest as such in the sport. Yeah. Whereas this is just purely 11 clubs who have got together and have decided, we're doing our own thing. It's not under the guidance of UEFA. It's not under the guidance of FIFA. And it's these bodies who control the sport. So I don't see how they can do it. Really
to be fair, Eric Kenny makes a fantastic point here. If you only have 12 teams, they'll suck up all the talent on $500,000 a week contracts, and half won't even play just so the other clubs can't play against them. And it's true. You will get, if this happens, and that's a big if, the money that will be thrown around to players to come play for these teams in this tournament will be unbelievable, which means that the leagues that are sort of left behind will struggle. Will struggle to entice these fantastic players to come and play in them, and it's outrageous. Steve Pinder also says, think of the ticket prices and TV subscription prices cannot and shouldn't happen, we hope. And that's a massive one. That is where they'll hit people most, is ticket prices and, of course, the TV subscription. Now, I mean, obviously, do you remember when they tried to do that pay-per-view a few months ago, didn't they, with the football, when they were going to televise it? And that was swiftly aborted, wasn't it, before anyone could say anything. Chris Sharp, welcome, mate. Brilliant guest on Tales of a Groundhopper. Your episode's out soon, bud. Absolutely enjoyed that. He says, I can't stand everything being franchise-based, purely for commercial benefit, with no regard to developing footballers or their traditional fan base. And it's true. How many of these quality players will slip through the net because of bits and pieces like this? Steve also says, for you youngins, football was around before 1992. Are you sure? I don't recall. He then goes
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
He then goes on to say, would this mean any players involved in such league could not play for their national sides? I think that's what they're saying, Steve, is that they wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't allow this to happen. Wouldn't allow the players to play for them. And that's a massive blow, isn't it, for like world competitions? We love the World Cup, the Euros, because we see these world-class players, with playing for their country, and it makes your summer, doesn't it? Robin Hartley also says, imagine having to get a plane for free. Oh my God, Coiny, can you imagine how many away days Vaughan you'd be doing with that? Not even a bloody place, man.
Not many.
Not many.
Not many with this. This is a nonsense. And I don't think many will, Dan, to be quite honest. I think most genuine football fans will look at this and just give it the cold shoulder and just give it the regard it deserves, and that's absolutely nothing, to be quite honest. I'll say it again, it's a nonsense. It really is. What annoys me the most about it, I think, are the clubs that are actually involved in it. Like I said, Man U, Liverpool and Arsenal, I can see some merit in that, but Man City and Chelsea being involved in it. What? Yeah. You kind of like, Man City were in a League One playoff, third division playoff 20 years ago. Yeah. Now, 20 years later, they're playing at the Billy Big Nuts. And what? What's that all about?
It's money, mate. Money talks. I mean, this is the other thing as well. The 6 clubs that have come in and said from England, yeah, we'll do it. Well, not all 6 of them are going to be able to do it. So 2 of them are going to have egg on their faces, aren't they? Because they've not even said who's going to be playing in this tournament, how many from each nation. You can't have 6 Premier League clubs, 3
Isn't that the agreement though? I don't know what would you call it, like the almost like they've all got together already and decided, you know what, it's going to be us and we're not going to let anyone else in. There's not going to be a selection procedure. That selection procedure is already done. Well,
I think that'll be the point, won't it? Because I think at the end of the day, these clubs see themselves as the elite big clubs already, don't they? So to be quite honest, I suppose, Dan, at the end of the day, if you were going to go down a route where, okay, well, it's only going to be 3 out of 6, well, I suppose that's what the Champions League is effectively, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair,
how could you even call it a European Super League when you've not got PSG in there, you've not got Bayern, you've not got Dortmund, it's not, you've not got Ajax. No, it's just complete crap, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Certainly is.
It's a cash cow. It's as simple as that. Chris Sharp says no club is bigger than the league, and I completely agree with that. And I'll tell you what it does. It makes a mockery of like the achievement like Leicester did. Do you know what I mean? Remember Leicester winning the Premier League? But if this happens, that sense of achievement will never be felt again in the Premier League. A club against all odds, breaking into that top 4, top 5, top 6. And finishing on top. It'll never happen again.
Look what West Ham are doing this season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let me just double check the detail.
The other question is as well, will the Champions League and Europa League still carry on without them?
So at the moment, West Ham currently sit above Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham and Arsenal.
Arsenal, man.
And Everton sit above Arsenal.
So they sit above 4 of them then, don't they? 4 of these clubs.
Leicester are above West Ham as well. So there's only Man United and Man City who are above Leicester and West Ham as things stand.
I think it's a travesty. I honestly think it's a travesty, and it just seems. Do you know what? It's almost like the DCMS doing what they did last week, and these clubs went, "Oh, they look angry. Right, hold my beer. Let's see what I can do to." Oh God, I just mentioned beer. Oh God. Sorry. Every time I think of beer, I get that sick taste in my bloody mouth.
Actually, in all fairness, DCMS have actually made a statement. Oliver Dowden has come out and he's condemned it as well. So yeah.
Trying to deflect.
Yeah, we were trying to come out and get him to make a statement last week, and he wouldn't. But this week, he's jumped on this one. In all fairness, yeah, he's condemning it as well.
Who's this here? Robin Hartley says, "Go on."
It's the timing as well, by the way, because UEFA is set. I'm having a read of BBC Sport at the moment. UEFA are hoping to announce the new look Champions League on Monday.
Yeah.
And they've called it a cynical project, which I completely agree with as well. I mean, I don't think this new look Champions League sounds that good, to be honest.
No, I don't.
I'm always of the opinion, and this is the same with the World Cup as well. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
You've got a great, and I hate the term product when we're discussing things like this, but you do have a great product as such at the moment. Why are you trying to mess about with it? Just accept what it is, which is very, very good, very entertaining. It pulls in the viewing figures year on year. It's an exciting competition. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, I agree. That's the thing as well. Can you imagine like a Champions League without, we're obviously condemning these clubs, but can you imagine a Champions League without these? Well, saying that United are in the bloody Champions League, but what I'm saying is these major tournaments without a Barcelona, without a Madrid, without a Juventus, without a Manchester United, without a, what I mean? It sort of dilutes the competition, doesn't it, in a way?
But then again, it's so arrogant as well, because it's like saying, "Oh, we're the ones who win the Champions League all the time." Well, actually, you're not. Look at FC Porto. Look what they did under Mourinho in 2004. Monaco getting to the final year as well. There's, it's not set in stone that it will be the big clubs who get to the finals of these competitions. There is occasionally the smaller club as such who proves all these big things wrong.
Atlanta last year. Atlanta did well, didn't they? They got right up, right through, knocked out some teams. Robin says, never. I keep saying their full names. I sound like a bloody teacher. Robin says, never seen the Premier League players so quiet on social media. It would be huge for some of them to condemn this publicly. But They can't, can they? Because if they do, at the end of the day, the clubs they play for, they like.
Why would you bite the hand that feeds you?
Exactly. They went to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer after the Burnley game and said, this is broke. What do you think about it? And he looked like a rabbit in headlights. He obviously couldn't come out there and say, "What a joke." I don't agree with this at all. He had to literally say, I know nothing about it, which is obviously the biggest lie.
You can't expect people like that to comment, though, can you?
No.
You can't expect people like that to comment. Like you said, it was put in. I saw that interview as well, and I thought it was, I suppose it's a justified question, but a little bit of an unfair one to put him on the spot like that, because it's not him that's got to come out and explain this. He's only an employee of the club, isn't he?
Yeah, correct. Eric says, did Sky say the statement for... Imagine trying to say it 5 times fast. Did Sky say the statement? That's really hard. Did Sky say... Bloody cat trying to get in. Honestly, they're like velociraptors off Jurassic Park. They've learned to open doors, my cats have. Did Sky say the statement from this sham is at 9:30? I think it is, mate. I'll be certainly keeping my eyes on that one. Steve Pinder says... I've done it again. Steve, I'm just going to say Steve. Steve says Champions League is a farce as you don't have to be the league champion to be in it. That... has always been my biggest argument about the Champions League, because it's not the Champions League. The Champions League should be the top, possibly 2, like it used to be a few years ago. Now you can finish 4th and get into this competition and be crowned champions of Europe. I just don't agree with it. And United won the treble after finishing 2nd the season before. The Champions League should be the Champions League.
To be quite honest, though, I suppose the Champions League, to a degree, was, I suppose its inception was also to try and get away from this Super League sort of breakaway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was almost as a little bit of a halfway house. Like I said, like Corney mentioned before, I mean, yes, I agree that, you don't have to be the champions to be in it, but I agree with what Corney says. I do actually quite like it as a cup format. I think it does work quite well. I think there's some interesting games in it, but yeah, I mean, I go back to the day sort of like, 70s when I started watching football. You had to be the champions of your country to even qualify for it. Yeah,
that's what Steve says. European Cup, the league.
Absolutely, you had to win your league.
I genuinely don't know. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I'll ask you both separately, and I'll ask you guys in the comments if you could put a comment of what you think, and I just want a simple yes or no. So, Vorney or Vorney, do you think this will happen?
No.
Okay. Coiney, do you think that this will happen?
No.
Dan, do you think no? I don't either. Get your comments in below, guys. I want to know what your thoughts are on whether or not this will happen. So Coiney, we will obviously come back to this throughout the episode. Steve says no. I completely agree. So Coiney, talk to me about the Old Firm derby today.
Do you mean the Glasgow derby?
I mean it's still the Old Firm, isn't it?
These were the 2 clubs who wanted to break away from Scottish football, weren't they, and wanted to join the English League.
Which, by the way, would actually be better for Scottish football, in my opinion. And by the way, if Celtic, and the reason it's not ever going to happen is because if Celtic and Rangers came into the Premier League, they would challenge within 5 years. Clubs of that size getting the money that the Premier League teams get going into the Premier League, they would be challenging for those top 4 Champions League places, no doubt whatsoever. So that's why that'll never happen.
I don't know where's the host gone. He's sort of disappeared, hasn't he? Maybe the cat's got in the room and he's decided to shift it. I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they would challenge initially, Corney, but yeah, I suppose eventually they will.
Not straight away. I mean, if Celtic went in with Celtic's squad as it is at the moment, straight into the Premier League, they'd be going down with Sheffield United, Fulham, and West Brom.
Yeah, and same with the Rangers side as well. You look at the Rangers side. It's okay. It's more than amicable enough to be able to compete in the Scottish Premier League, but not against the big top 6 apparently. But yeah.
It's all right, Dan. You just come and go as you please, mate. We'll hold the fort.
I was just going to say, so it was a no from Kevin O'Neill. David Roberts says, Steve is correct. The only time it's Champions League is in the qualifiers when you have champions of countries like Wales, Northern Ireland, Luxembourg, etc. What did you say, Vorney? Because Steve said, brilliant, Vorney. I had to go get a drink. I had to stay lubricated.
I don't know what comment he's referring to there. Actually, maybe about Rangers and Celtic joining the English League. I don't know.
David Roberts says no. Robin says, "Bye, Dan. I'm back. I just need to get a drink. I'm struggling today, I'm afraid. I'm out of breath. Honestly, I'm so unfit." Also, Chris Sharp says no, but I'm worried there'll be some kind of compromise, i.e. getting rid of a relegation spot, allowing B teams closed European Cups. I completely agree with you. I think I think I walked back in with you guys talking about Rangers and Celtic coming into the Premier League. For me, I don't think they'd get relegated for the simple. Did you say relegated? Did I come into that? Was that right?
I said if Celtic went into the Premier League with the squad that they've got at the moment, they'd be going down with Sheffield United, Fulham, and West Brom.
I agree with that. I think. Do you think it would be commercial? They'd make more money commercially though, being in the Premier League.
I think they probably would. I mean, I think what we were saying there, Dan, was I think initially
they're worldwide brands as it is. Yeah. Why would joining the biggest brand in global football, the Premier League, as a competition, it wouldn't hinder them in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I think from a playing angle, initially when they come in, they would struggle. Neither have got the squads, I think, strong enough to even remotely make a challenge. But I think they would have. I mean, they're two massive names, aren't they? So,
yeah. And let's be honest, if it was a level playing field and Celtic and Rangers were getting the same money as the rest of the Premier League clubs, as a player, why would you choose to go to a Leicester City or a West Ham or clubs like that when you could go and play in front of 60,000 at Celtic Park or 55,000 at Ibrox? And Glasgow as a city is surely a more attractive proposition to live in than say a Leicester. That's my opinion.
Brutal. What are we talking about here? We've said that one. Steve said it was his comments about Rangers and Celtic wanting to break away from the Scottish League.
Okay, yeah.
That's all right. I thought you were slating me there. To be fair, I'm going to be honest with you guys, actually. If it wasn't for Corny and Vorney today, there wouldn't have been a show because I was lying on the sofa at about 5 and I messaged him and I said, "I'm rough, guys. I'm not sure I can do this tonight." And they rallied around me and the show must go on. So here we are.
When we're getting such good interaction as we have been the last few weeks, you can't let people down, Dan. Everyone was tuning in for us. We couldn't have not gone ahead tonight.
I think they were tuning in for your new haircut, Coyne.
Just one more point about the Rangers Celtic thing before we move on to the shambles that was the match. If Celtic and Rangers went down to England or played in the Premier League, I think that then it does open up opportunities for clubs who aren't competing for the trophies at the moment. Your Aberdeens, your Hibs, your Hearts, all big football clubs as well, by the way, to actually go and achieve something. Does it then make the SPFL more competitive? And I know that's sort of going against what we've said with the breakaway league in the Premier League, but I think Scottish football would benefit more from that than English football would losing the 6 clubs that we've mentioned.
The other problem. Sorry, go on, Vorney. Go on.
Sorry, I was going to say though, the only problem is with that though, Corny. I suppose with like Rangers and Celtic, again for the smaller clubs, the League One and League Two sides and the FA Cup or the Scottish FA Cup, if they lose Rangers and Celtic, they draw them at home. Isn't that the same sort of thing as what we were talking about, I suppose, with Shrewsbury in the FA Cup or Walsall or whoever that might well be, that draws a Man United at home or a Liverpool away or kind of whatever. You've got that as well. I understand that probably for the top clubs in the Scottish Premiership, you sort of like, your Hearts, your Hibs, Hearts have obviously just come back up, your Hibs, your Aberdeens and Dundee Uniteds and whatever. But the smaller clubs kind of going down, that probably doesn't help them, does it?
Yeah, potentially, and then I suppose you could lose something in terms of recruitment because, like your Kilmarnocks and your Dundee Uniteds can say to players, come and play for us because 4 times a year or 3 times a year you're going to get to play against Celtic and Rangers. And at least once a season, you're going to go up to Celtic Park and Ibrox.
I mean, that's it. I mean, you think about when obviously Rangers have to start back down the bottom in League Two again. You know, those clubs that they played for those 2 or 3 seasons, sort of certainly at that level, that money has been enough money to keep them going for a few years, isn't it? You know, kind of your Peterheads, your Arbroaths, your Montrose, your Stranraers, these clubs that have had Rangers at home twice in a season, well, they must have thought that Christmas had come early twice, I'd have thought. Okay, that might not happen again, but it's...
Well, it might.
There's something. It might. There's something quite uneasy about, for me, Rangers and Celtic joining the English system. Not that I don't think the English system, if they came in, that those two wouldn't add any value, because I think they probably would. I think they probably would add a lot of value to it. But I think you've got to think of the Scottish game and the value that they would probably take away from that. There's a 6 and 2-3 argument, I guess. And by the way, it's completely irrelevant because it will never happen, because it would require the Premier League clubs to vote for it, and turkeys do not vote for Christmas. That's right.
Oh, what a saying! We've started coming with taglines now. I'm going to have to up the game. Not that Coiney. Steve Pinder says, "Wow, Coiney's not moving to Leicester." Yeah, I don't think he's moving there anytime soon either, mate. Robin Hartley says, "I'm sure Brighton and Southampton wouldn't fancy that journey." Well, do you know what? I mean, of course, that's a big journey for him. But one thing as well is, if you were to bring them to the Premier League, does that mean that we need to relegate 5 teams one season, or would we make it a 22-team division? Because you couldn't really relegate.
Well, or would they go into the Football League and earn their place in the Premier League? I mean, I don't think if you said to Celtic and Rangers you're going at League 2 level, they'd go for that myself. I think if you said to them you're going at Championship level, then they potentially would. But like we said, it's irrelevant because it's never going to happen.
Well, it was a big game for them today. I believe it's 5 games unbeaten now, isn't it? I think for Rangers in the derby. So is it 4 wins and a draw? I think they've got the last 5 games.
Yeah, well, they're playing a absolutely pathetic squad of players, aren't they? So it's no surprise. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know how many people we've got watching who watched the game today. It'd be interesting to get some comments in. I didn't think Rangers were particularly that good today, in all honesty. I thought they were efficient. I thought they were effective. They took the chances, but they didn't wow me. I wasn't blown away by Rangers today. They're just they've had a good season, but Celtic this season have been absolutely pathetic, and they were absolutely pathetic again today. These players had an opportunity to create something that would never ever be done again. 10 titles in a row. They're representing one of the biggest clubs in terms of fan base in the world, one of the most historic clubs in the world, and the performances that this squad of players are putting in week out is absolutely pathetic. You've got a guy up front, Odsonne Edouard, who costs, I think it was £9 million from PSG. He didn't look bothered today. He's not looked bothered for most of the season. And to be honest, his penalty summed up his entire performance. And, there was talk of some clubs maybe bidding £30 million for this guy at some point. I mean, you can take away the 0 for a start. Premier League clubs watching him today. He'd be lucky to get a bid off Norwich, who just got promoted over the summer. Seriously, and it's not just him either. By the way, you can go through the Celtic squad. Mohamed El Yunusi, 18 million. Southampton played for that guy. Well, they missed out the decimal point, didn't they? He's just he scored a few goals, but he's not Celtic quality. And then you've got this guy Laxalt at left back. He's on loan from AC Milan. My God, he wouldn't get in my Sunday side. Seriously. Shane Duffy, meant to be this hero coming in at centre half, and I actually feel sorry for him because he's obviously a Celtic fan. He supported Celtic all his life, and there was a lot of hope pinned on him at the start of the season that he'd be the solid base that Celtic could build their defence around this season. And he can't even get in the squad at the moment. And if you can't get in that squad, then you must be bad, honestly.
I think
I can go on, by the way.
I think you are. Go on.
John Joe Kenny, this guy on loan from Everton, every time he gets the ball, he wants to play it back. Don't want to go forward with it. Every time he gets the ball, he's just looking to see where his centre half is so he can pass him the ball. Actually go and show a bit of positivity. Go and do something with the ball. Go and show to your parent club Everton that actually, I could go and play Premier League next year. You'd be lucky to get a League One club. Ryan Christie. How many times he's turned up this season is in a Scotland shirt? Honestly, and I've not even gone through the rest of them.
You haven't even scratched the surface, Corey.
I've not even scratched the surface.
Yeah,
I've not even scratched the surface. But you're getting bored of me now, aren't you, Vaughn? I can tell.
No, not at all. I mean, just to put, at the end of the day, you're more educated on this than I am. So in all fairness, I can't really add a lot of value to it. But as an outsider looking in, sorry, Daniel.
No, go on.
So as an outsider looking in, Celtic have just not turned up as a club, full stop, this season to even compete, have they? They're not even competing in these games, are what I've seen.
The guys who run the club have been caught sleeping at the wheel.
Yeah,
the club, most important season for a long, long time. And honestly, it's so negligent. And I'll get onto the recruitment in a minute. But
to me, it almost, like you said, I mean, you said something before there actually about Rangers not actually looking that great. I've got to be honest, I've seen Rangers a few times. They played in Europe, and reasonably sort of held their own. But they're not.
I meant this game in particular. I meant this game in particular.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, I wouldn't look at them as a great side sort of thing, But I think this season they've taken the ball by the horns. And they've caught Celtic with their pants around their ankles, haven't they? Really, they've really caught them cold. They have just totally and utterly caught them cold.
They've been efficient. They've been effective. And you know what? All credit to Steven Gerrard because he's the guy who's made it happen.
Yeah, there was. I don't know whether you saw the videos in the week of Neil Lennon. He didn't look in a great way, did he?
No,
you've seen those, and that
was concerning to see. And
yeah, it was.
I think. Yeah, obviously he's the manager, so he's got to carry the can for what's happened this season. But I think he's been let down badly by his players and the people above him at the club as well. I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't have been solely responsible for the recruitment, but if they've got, they obviously have. They've had Nick Hammond in there as like a sporting director, and to sanction some of these moves, $5 million for Albion Ayeti. The guy, he was coming on today, and you can tell he's not even bothered. He's happy because he'll get home and he'll get his nice wage, and he's playing in a nice stadium. That he's not bothered. He's not bothered about playing in a Celtic Rangers match. And this goalkeeper Barkas, I mean, he can't even get in the side at the moment. He's not made a save all season.
So.
I could go for 7 hours, by the way.
Some of the comments, Coyne, you're going off, mate.
Some of the comments have dried up, actually, to be quite honest. People nodded off.
They haven't. We've got... Steve Pinder said, enough. Stop him. Robin Hartley said, fantastic rant this is. Jake Topless, welcome, Jake, said, it's like Jeff Stelling Middlesbrough rant all over again. Kevin O'Neill said you've put Gary Neville's rant on this evening to shame on here. And then Robin said, oh, here he goes again. Absolutely.
I wouldn't even call it a rant, to be honest. I'd call it discussion points.
If this is your discussion points, Coyne, I definitely don't want to see a rant, mate. I think we just playing live on there.
But I mean, just going back to the Neil Lennon thing. I mean, it was awful. It was awful to see, and to be quite honest, as football fans, you just want that guy to get the help that he needs because he's obviously in need of some help. Yeah.
Well, we're judging that from 2 videos, by the way, and it could just be a guy. I've seen a lot of people saying what you're saying, Vaughn. It could just be a guy who's done exactly what me and Dan done last night, went out and had a few too many, which we've all done, and he's got some cretin who decides to film him. I mean, honestly, if
that's what you hope it is.
Hopefully the person who filmed him wouldn't be watching. Hopefully the person who filmed him isn't watching this, because we don't want guys like that watching our show. But honestly, if you are, hang your head in shame. Who gets their camera phone out and films a guy who's obviously having a bad moment in that instance?
Yeah.
But if it is more serious than just a guy who's had a few too many, Vaughnie, obviously, we hope he gets the help that he needs, because it wasn't good to see. It wasn't good to see.
And I'm only putting 2 and 2 together here, and might be coming up with 6 or 7. But it's just the season that Celtic have had, and then you see that, and you start to wonder if there's more sort of sinister things at work a little bit behind the scenes, don't you? And that's worrying.
Chris Sharp said, with a club like Celtic, how much do you think it's impacted them playing behind closed doors? If they did that if they did that all season in front of fans, there'd be some form of reaction immediately. I agree. And you made that.
The fans wouldn't stand for it.
No, that's very true. That's very true. I mean, I think without fans in stadiums, in the last sort of 12 months, we've seen a different game, full stop, haven't we? I think, you look at Sheffield United sort of last season, using ththose guys as an example, Bramall Lane, fans close to the pitch, screaming in people's ears when they come to take a corner. All of a sudden, you haven't got that.
There's no fear. There's no
fear. Absolutely.
It's not just Celtic who's been affected, by the way, because you could arguably say that Rangers have benefited from it. Because look at James Tavernier Tavernier this season. By the way, suddenly he's turned into Cafu all of a sudden.
Cafu, yeah.
Whereas there was fans over the last few years who were absolutely lambasting this guy.
Yeah,
they were giving him so much stick, and Rangers weren't performing at times last season. I mean, how many the last 2 seasons before this season, they've come to January when the pressure was on, and they've folded, and Celtic have quite comfortably won the league on the last 2 occasions. Now, was that the pressure that the fans were putting on Rangers at that point of the season when when the pressure was really, really on? So I think Celtic have been negatively affected by no fans, and I think Rangers could arguably have been positively affected. And it's not just in Scotland either, by the way, because you look at Liverpool. How average have Liverpool been this season compared to the last 2 seasons when they've had the fans in?
It's been so sad to watch. So sad. Look at the changes in amount of away wins. No fans levels to playing field. It completely does. In fact, I think Coyne probably alluded to the thing there with the point with Liverpool. Massively, Liverpool, when the fans are behind it, it's like having your 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th men with you, isn't it? They really do carry that team.
There's a lot of clubs as well that we can mention, like Sheffield United, for example. How Vaughnie, we've both been to Bramall Lane, Dan. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you have, but really, really good fan base, really vocal, really loud, and I think that's a team who's obviously missed their fans as well.
It's look, I think Celtic, depending on who they pick to take them forward next season, I think it's going to be Eddie Howe by the looks of it, isn't it? I think that's the
not necessarily. It looked as if it was done and dusted a couple of weeks back, but there's nothing that's happened since. So whoever it is, it's got a massive job on their hands, because honestly, from that squad, I'd maybe keep 3 of them.
Do you know what? And Robin Hartley makes an absolutely golden point here. This is such a bloody good point.
Good at that, Rob.
West Ham flying without fans on their back. West Ham fans can sometimes, can't they? They do tend to get on the players' back, and they aim a lot of their grievances at the board. They hate the board.
They can do. It's whether you can hear them there. They're about 4 miles away from the pitch. Just going back to what you said, mate, it was a game involving West Ham and Leicester last week. Actually, I think it was last Sunday. And you're talking about away wins in the Premier League, and Leicester's away record this season is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sure. I mean, they lost that game against West Ham, but I think they were saying that they played the 14 games or something they played away from home or whatever it is. They'd won 11, drawn 1, and lost 2 or lost 3 or something along those lines. It was some ridiculous record they've got. I mean, who has an away record like that normally?
I'll tell you who does. Manchester United, mate. Haven't lost away in a year in the Premier League.
That's a conversation killer, isn't it?
But in a year. In a year.
Do you remember the season Town didn't win away from home? Town won the first away game the first away game of the season and didn't win again until the penultimate away game of the season, and we still got to Wembley.
Yeah, we did. That's right. Yeah,
that was mad that year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Imagine what we'd have done if we'd have had a good manager.
Well, that was ridiculous actually, because that was the we actually won. Was it away at Rotherham, I think, when they were playing at the Don Valley, and then we went somewhere the following week and won again. All of a sudden, we broke our duck, didn't we? Dagenham, I think we had to. Yeah. So all of a sudden, we broke our duck, and then we went into and beat Bury in the playoffs, didn't we? So actually, we'd gone from winning one away game in umpteen games to winning sort of 3 out of 3, didn't we?
Was that the game where Steve Leslie got sent off?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, yes, it was.
Well, although it was a bit of a soft sending off, in my opinion.
It was.
I was thoroughly biased on that occasion.
Of course, I wouldn't expect anything less, Mr. Coyne. Guys, keep your comments coming in. Having a really good football talk tonight. I did miss a comment before by Jake Topless. He did say clubs should be punished for the European Super League proposal, but we all know they'll get a massive £10,000 fine. I mean, that pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? In fact, actually, I'll tell you something we haven't spoke about today, and I'd be very interested to hear the people in the comments' view on this. The 10-game ban for that lad from Rangers against
Slavia Prague.
Prague for the racist comments. Oh, he's puffed his cheeks.
Do you want a proper rant, dear?
Another 7 hours later. Yeah,
hang on.
But you're right on this
one. But let's be honest, lads.
This is justified, though. This one.
Yeah.
We can joke all we want, but it's not laughing matter, is it? It's a really serious matter. And
why has the boy been banned for 3 games?
Sorry.
Why has the boy been banned for 3 games?
Glenn Kamara or Kemaroof?
Glenn Kamara, isn't it?
I believe it's to do with an incident in the tunnel. But
right.
I haven't officially seen. To be honest, my attention was more taken by the ban for the racist, which is unbelievable, isn't it? 10 games. You're playing. How many games are you playing a week at the moment? Potentially 3. You could be back playing next month.
Yeah. It's just
for something that was so blatant as well. I mean, surely they've got all the evidence that they need. Never mind witness statements. You've got actual footage of him. Surely you can get a lip reader and actually find out what he's saying. But UEFA had a real opportunity here to actually make a stance and use that guy as an example and say, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. Let's start with a year's ban for this guy.
I'd agree with that.
And by the way, while he's banned for a year, he's got to complete education courses so that when he comes back into football, he's educated to a level where he's not going to make comments of that nature again. And that then sends out a message to anyone else who might be that way inclined to make such disgusting comments on a football pitch that's it, stopped. And then you can filter that down then to grassroots level and say, if there was a scumbag on a Sunday morning pitch who wanted to make racist comments, you know what? If you're going to do that, then you've got your year's ban waiting for you next week. Yeah. But they've chosen against that, haven't they, UEFA? And the thing is, as well, you can compare it to other bans as well. I mean, Rio Ferdinand got an 8-month ban and missed Euro 2004 for not taking a drugs test.
Missing a drugs test, yeah.
For not for missing the test. It's just honestly, it defies belief, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
10 matches.
10 matches. I mean, it's just. I mean, I agree with you, Corny. I'd have been looking at a 12-month sort of worldwide football ban for this guy, or at the very least. Yeah. He's 12 months. I mean, come on, and that's.
Let's be honest. Really,
that's 12 months of playing football as well, isn't it? That's 12 months of playing football, not in COVID times where you could, if there's no football being played, okay, you're 12 months and you come back. No, that's a 12-month as in seasons and playing games. Yeah, and that's got to be a minimum. Make a scapegoat to this guy. Let's put him up there and say, look, this is what you're going to get.
And he deserves nothing less, by the way.
Absolutely, it's 10 games. It's nothing, is it?
What I've always said, since unfortunately I was involved in an incident 2 years ago where one of my players was racially abused, I've since had the stance that anyone found guilty of racially abusing another player on a football pitch should receive a lifetime ban. And I do still believe that. But there is, I suppose from a legal perspective, you have to offer the opportunity of rehabilitation.
Yeah.
Which is why I'd say, let's start as a mandatory minimum, because I'll come on to that in a minute with the English FA guidelines. It should be a mandatory minimum of a year and the education course. And then they have the opportunity to rehabilitate themselves and then get back to playing football if they are shown to have done that.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what the mandatory minimum ban for racially abusing someone in the English system is?
Is it a 10 game? Is it an 8-game ban? Six
matches.
Yeah.
6 matches. So if that was someone in the Shrewsbury Sunday League who was found guilty of that and received the mandatory minimum at the moment, they could be back playing by the end of the month.
That's mad. That's absolutely bonkers, isn't it? There's a couple of comments actually. Zach Pugh says, agree with Coiney 1000%. So he definitely agrees with you there, bud. Welcome, Zach, as well. Hope you're well, matey. Robin says, Kamara got banned for smacking the lad who abused him. Just awful. Ban the club from Europe. When will they learn? He then goes on to make a blood. I tell you what, Robin, we have to get you on the show, mate, with all these points you're making. Putting us to shame. If a fan is caught racially abusing, they get a life ban from the club, yet players are protected. That is so bloody true, isn't it? That is so true.
And there's another thing here as well, which the previous point made there about the club as well. How can a club justify continuing to field a player after his ban who has been convicted of racially abusing someone? What sort of message does that send out? It should be a contract termination.
Do you know what, mate?
Every player contract that if you were found guilty of racially abusing another player, your contract is terminated there and then.
It's gross misconduct, isn't it?
One of the most embarrassing things I ever saw was the whole Suarez situation. When King Kenny comes out in that interview wearing a T-shirt in support, I thought, you moron. Because if it was the other way around, I can guarantee Kenny would have been out absolutely destroying this person. But the fact that Suarez did what he did and received the support of the Liverpool players like he did, I found that to be just embarrassing, to be fair.
I was actually at that game.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, October 2011. Yeah. And obviously, as is quite often the case within football stadiums, you don't realise that something's gone on until afterwards. It was the case. Same situation when Suarez bit Ivanovic. I think Rob was in the stadium that day as well. But yeah, they didn't cover themselves in glory looking back on that, did they? The players, and I think a few of them have come out since and have said that they deeply regret it.
It's a shame. It is a shame, and it just seems that we seem to be dragged back to these bloody points again, don't we? I'd love it if we had a week where we weren't moaning about something, but
yeah. The thing as well, we could have discussed this every single week since we started this. Since we started this show, because there are incidents still happening every single week.
Day. Yeah.
It's horrible to see. It's scary as well, isn't it?
I tell you what else I saw this week, which was quite worrying, was Chris Smalling got robbed at gunpoint in Italy, didn't he? At his house. Him and his family were held by gunpoint, and he was made to give over all sorts of bits and pieces. There's just some absolute low lives about it, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? It's absolute.
Yeah, it's happened in this country as well, isn't it?
Everton.
I mean,
Everton boy.
One of my favourite stories, almost trying to lighten the mood here, to do with football in the last few years, is when some burglars broke into Duncan Ferguson's house and he battered them. I thought it was terrific. If there's one guy in football whose house you don't want to break into, it's Duncan Ferguson. He got everything that he deserved as well, I'm sure.
Did he get the 3-game ban for that?
Adam, I'm going to say Lana says, hi guys, can you see my comments? Yes, we can, mate. There you go. Obviously, Adam, if you've got a comment you want to make, obviously drop it in there, bud. I don't know what to say. No, I think obviously before we crack on, that would be hilarious, wouldn't it? That would just be the most. I think if ever there was footage that you wanted to see, it would be those guys. Okay, well, I mean, obviously,
how did you imagine that? Imagine that, trying to get back through the window with a TV, and the light turns on. It's Duncan Ferguson standing there. I mean, Jesus.
That footage.
You'd be like, oh no.
Jimmy Bullard with Ferguson. Do you remember when? And it's just he stood next to him like
yeah.
Just absolutely love it.
It reminds me, do you guys talking at Sunday nights and that? Do you guys remember Dream Team on Sky One?
Yeah.
And the character Jaws, Viv Wright, and he owned a bar, and some guys broke into the bar and saw it that was him, and he said, "Oh, Viv Wright, we didn't realise this was your bar. It would be the case for Ferguson, wouldn't it?"
It would.
Yeah, we need to discuss Dream Team at some point on this show. Get some memories in from anyone who used to watch it.
I might have to watch that again. I haven't watched it for so long.
It's on YouTube. Maybe we can do that. Maybe we can have a special episode talking about Dream Team. I'd love that. Just a little hint for you there. I'd love that.
I need to watch it.
Robin, Dream Team was amazing. There we go. We got one. So we've got one viewer definitely then.
Dream Team special.
Dream Team special. Okay, now with regards to this week in non-league, we've had the restructure finally approved, which I'm quite surprised it's come as quick as it has now. Our Lord and Saviour, Ollie Bayliss, has released some information that I have been happy to grab off him. It says here, this is the timeline. So obviously Friday was clubs provide observations on the restructural proposal. Clubs notify if they do not want to be considered for upward movement. And then we've got Thursday, 22nd of April, FA Council members will meet and be asked to vote on the restructural proposal following the meeting. Monday 26th of April to Monday the 3rd of May. If the proposal is approved by the FA Council, eligible clubs will be invited to apply. And then obviously the 10th of May, FA Subcommittee will meet to approve applications for upward movements. And then the 2021-2022 league constitutions confirmed by the FA on the 17th of May. So plenty of happening in the world of non-league with these divisions now. It's going to be a busy one, isn't it, this summer? I think Vorney will probably know a bit more than most on this one with regards to the restructure. I believe the West Midlands Premier Division will be gone, won't it? They're getting rid of that, and I think it will be the Midland Premier Division and then Midland Division 1. I think there's one more league being added in step 3 or 4.
Step 4, there's one new division. Yeah, I'm surprised actually the West Midlands League that's been muted to have been disappearing for a few years now, isn't it? To be brought into like the Midland League structure. But there's one new division at step 4. So I've written this down because I couldn't remember it. 2 new divisions at step 5. And step 6 is going to be reduced to 17 leagues. So basically, the crux of it is there's going to be 110 clubs upwardly moved. So that is the 20 clubs up from step 5 to step 4. So that's to make up the new step 4 league. And then there's 60 clubs to be moved up from step 6 to 5. So that's 20 to sort of backfill the clubs that have moved up to step 4. And then 40 for the 2 new leagues at step 5 that are going to be introduced. So, and then from step 7, which is your grassroots county league level, there's going to be 30 teams then that are coming up from that level then to backfill the ones at step 6 that have moved on.
It's points per game, isn't it? I think they're looking at over the last 2 seasons. That's one of the deciding factors, I think.
Yeah, points per game over the last couple of seasons, and of course what they've also said there in terms of asking the clubs whether they want to move up, because some will, some won't. I mean, like sort of locally, you look at Shifnal that didn't get the promotion that they deserved sort of last season
as well. Should have gone up.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, those clubs should have been going up. So they will move now up to a division where they probably rightly should be anyway.
I'm going to probably get mocked for my normal love affair for Dudley Town, but I mean, I was when Dudley Town had their season, I felt that they were going to go up because it's four clubs promoted. They played all the real big boys in that division, and they were looking consistent. And I really hope that they do get the promotion. I think they deserve it. I think they've got a good squad there. So let's see what happens there. Steve Pinder says the null and void seasons. I know, mate. Oh God, I can't wait for this mess to be over. I really can't. Chris Sharp says West Midland clubs now coming more under the banner of the MFL and East Midland ones in the UCL, getting rid of the WMRL and Eastern Counties League. A shame about the West Midlands Regional Leagues. It's been running for over 100 years, and it is a shame, isn't it? I think it's one of the oldest ones, isn't it?
Well, it used to be a really strong league, yeah. Kidderminster Harriers and your Worcester Cities and teams like that were winning that in once upon a time back in the day. So, yeah, as a traditional league, yes, it's disappointing. It's a shame to lose it, but. You've got a couple of leagues that are running sort of simultaneously alongside each other in the Midland League and the West Midlands League. You can't really have both. It needs to come under one or the other, really.
I've seen with regards to the Midlands football, which affects us more. To be fair, I mean, we're in the Midlands. There's some juicy games that are potentially going to be there or thereabouts when this restructure happens. So I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I think there's going to be. I mean, Shifnal. We'll be playing the likes of Hormond anyway, won't they? I should imagine, but there'll be some good games there. I think Shifnal will have a good go at it as well. I really do think they'll have a good go at it. Adam, I'm so sorry, mate. If it's Lana, if it can't be Lallana because he's just played today, he'd be knackered. If Chelsea support this disgrace Super League proposition, I'm done with the football club. I think everyone is of the same opinion, mate. I really do. It's a topic that has enraged, quite rightly so, so many people tonight. Back to what we were talking about there, Vorney. I did get this as well off Ollie, and it's I didn't realise what sort of work went into the fact of being promoted. So in step 5, the top 3 ranked clubs from each of the divisions will be invited to look at upward movement. It's quite bizarre, isn't it? Invited. How many clubs would say no? Now, does that come down to the simple fact of grounds not being ready, or is it just clubs won't fancy it?
Well, I suppose partly, yeah. I mean, you've got I suppose higher up the pyramid, the grounds tend to be of a certain sort of standard. I mean, as you get a bit lower down, sort of step 5, step 6, obviously they've got to conform to a ground grading rules and kind of whatever. But even between sort of 5s and 6s, there's a little bit of a jump in terms of things that are needed. The clubs, really, the interesting ones will be the ones from step 7, because you've got a real mixed bag. You'll have maybe clubs that have dropped out of steps 5 and 6 and dropped down to county league level that have got proper grounds, playing teams that basically play on a public pitch. So if you're looking sort of in Shrewsbury, for instance, somebody you might have a ground bit like maybe Hormond have got, and then somebody that plays on one of the outer pitches, which is just going to be roped off. That at that sort of level can be what you can see. In terms of the ground, so that there will be some clubs that basically wouldn't be able to come up. So if a team was to win one of those county leagues, if they've only got a roped off pitch, then they don't really stand any chance of being promoted unless they enter into some sort of ground sharing agreement with a local team. Locally, I think that the team that sort of benefited out of that in recent years was Whitchurch Allport. They got promoted or brought up into the Northwest Counties 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago now, whatever that might be, and they really were promoted in based on their facilities rather than on the pitch being successful. So that was what they were brought in for. Pumped a lot of money into the ground, but on the pitch they weren't really that great. But obviously they've now developed, got a great ground, obviously got the support and everything, and players in that have sort of caught up with that. So it can work. So elevating a club up like that, all of a sudden can generate that local interest. So it can only be good.
Steve Pinder said some clubs can't afford to go up. I think that is a massive one, isn't it? The costs in going up as well. I can see that, and I think there will be potentially struggling with that.
Yeah, potentially. Having said that, I suppose the idea of all of this, though, is to make more regionalised leagues, isn't it? So that the travel costs, hopefully, would diminish. And I think this was a point that Coyne, I think you and Coyne were talking about last week. You know, if you've got more local games, is that financially better? Well, yeah, it's going to be, isn't it? If you haven't got to travel half the distance, then it's got to be. Whether those games generate the local interest in terms of fans and everything, well, okay, that's to be seen, I guess. But from a travel point of view, really, that's one of the biggest outlays of any club, isn't it? You know, if I use Market Drayton as an example. You know, I talked to my friend at work who's involved with them, and you know they have to play Cleethorpes. You know, they're in the Northern Premier League. You know, sort of lower division, but they play Cleethorpes. I mean, Cleethorpes the other side of the country. You know, it's right. It just sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? You know, you've got a club from Shropshire playing a club from Lincolnshire. You know, there's got to be closer teams to be playing than that, surely.
Yeah. That's a good 3 hours.
Yeah, it's and I mean it's you know, I mean I've known Stuart at work. You know, he said to me in the past, you know, they've had to play Goole, Brigtown, you know, and they were over in Lincolnshire as well. You know, I mean they you know these are trips that, you know, for a Saturday. I mean, in fact, there was quite a bizarre fixture I think I saw a couple of years ago. It must have been obviously a rearranged game from a Saturday where Truro City had to play Biggleswade. And Biggleswade's Bedfordshire, and this was a midweek game, so they were making Truro travel to Biggleswade for a midweek fixture. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean that's probably 5 hours each way, isn't it? 4 hours each way, something like that.
Crazy, isn't it?
I mean, just joking. It's just ridiculous.
Robin says that Vorney makes a good point on facilities. Will all of the teams be allowed to move up here? Now, the one that springs to my mind is round the corner from me, Alscott Heath. They've just had floodlights, I think, installed so they can go up. Is that something that comes into play, Vorney?
Well, certainly you definitely need floodlights at step 6. Yeah, below that you don't. So some clubs will have lights in step 7. Some won't, because it doesn't. You've got to remember, I suppose, at step 7 level, the leagues, the county leagues, are a lot smaller. So most of the teams, or most of the clubs, or most of the league games can be played on Saturdays throughout the season. So you might have 15 teams, they play 30 games. So you can, they might have a few at the end of the season, which when they got the lighter nights and that, they can play them at that point. But at step 6 you have to have floodlights, which isn't cheap. So yes, I mean, if a club at step 7 hasn't got lights, well, yeah, they've either got to.
Has there been anything said about grants from the FA for clubs to improve their facilities?
I don't think there has.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I mean, I know that clubs, certainly Whitchurch were, and some of the other clubs that have come up from step 7 to step 6, they're given I suppose a period of grace that's longer than maybe other clubs. Where they're given maybe a couple of years, 2 seasons to get their facilities sort of up to standard. So these clubs, there's going to have to be a lot of that. The FA are going to have to work with these sides because all of a sudden if they want to progress, and I suppose what they would have to prove is that they've probably got the funding in place to be able to support hard standing, turnstile blocks kind of going in. So it's not just floodlights. It's so many seats. Turnstile blocks. Enclosed grounds,
Standing I ever saw, by the way, Vorney, you'd have probably been there. Welshpool Town.
Right. Okay.
But Welshpool Town's. Have you been there?
Yeah.
Well, that Dan, I'm not sure if you've been there, but Welshpool Town, when they were in the Welsh Premier, as it was then, their ground bordered a cricket pitch. It still does. And to meet the criteria to get in the Welsh Premier, you have to have hard standing all around the pitch. So what Welshpool Town did is they laid down basically blocks of wood or like boards and all the way around the pitch, which meant they fulfilled the criteria. Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic.
Chris Sharp says, at the moment you can get grow the game or retain the game grants from the FA, but only up to a couple of grand for ground improvements / maintenance. Thanks for that, Chris. I didn't know that. So that's a new one on me. I think, look, the restructures, it was meant to happen 2 years ago. We're finally getting there now. Some clubs are going to get what they want. Other clubs aren't, and it's going to be a shame for some, for certain. However, having said that, it's moving, isn't it? It's moving forward. It's something that they've had to do for a long time. I don't understand why it's taken them so long to do it, if I'm honest. Just quickly before we head off, because to be fair, we've not got long left, actually. We're almost into extra time. What are your thoughts on the feeder clubs, the feeder leagues, guys? Ronnie, you probably have a bit more about that.
What's your sort of thoughts there, then, Dan? The feeder leagues, you mean?
On the feeder league. So, like, obviously we've got the Shropshire League now. I mean, that's a feeder league for step 7, is it? The
step 7. You mean step 7 into right? Okay. You mean in terms of if they lose 30 sides, what happens to those?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I don't know. I hadn't really thought of that, really, to be quite honest. I mean, I suppose what you do tend to find at those county levels sometimes, you do tend to find a lot of reserve sides playing in them. So you don't at the end of the day, you don't want a county league full of reserve sides. But yeah, I mean that void's got to be filled. You'd like to think there's enough progressive clubs. I mean, we've been watching sort of Coyne's guys on a Sunday. And okay, that's a Sunday, but whether clubs, I'm not saying Corny's guys would want to do it, but whether you've got some clubs that decide to play on a Saturday and they would sort of like to have a crack at step 7, I mean, you don't know.
There was at least one team who did that last season.
Yeah,
a team who had a Sunday side in our league, and then puts a team in the South Leisure Saturday league as well.
The Steam Wagon.
Yes.
Steam Wagon have done it. Yeah. Shrewsbury up and comers, possibly.
I think so. Yeah.
They haven't had an adult Sunday side, but obviously they had kids sides, didn't they?
Well, just to round off a couple more points, guys. Steve Pinder says Stourbridge is a cricket ground, a great cricket. It is actually. Yeah, it is. Stourbridge is a cricket ground. I'm getting that in for you, Steve. I know that Line of Duty's on at 9, and don't want to keep you too far off that, buddy. And Robin Hartley, I should say Robin. I don't know why I keep saying full bloody name. I was going to make a point about this, but beat me to it. Leicester through to the final. Delighted for Rogers. Thoughts on the final or Chelsea? I think Leicester are going to beat Chelsea.
I'd like to see Leicester win it.
I really would. I think, I as soon as I saw City lost it yesterday, I thought, I think it'll be a very enjoyable game. The final.
I hope Leicester win it, but I still don't see why anyone would sign for Leicester ahead of Celtic and Rangers if they're in the Premier League. I like Leicester.
No.
To say we had a cracking night out the day we beat the night we beat them in the Carling Cup, didn't we?
We did actually. Yeah, it was.
Andy Mangan.
I don't know what your beef with Leicester is.
They recovered quite well though, didn't they? Leicester. They won the Premier League the year after.
Following season, they won the Premier League after we knocked them at the League Cup. Yeah,
that game of the League Cup. I was there.
Mahrez was in Mickey Dimitro's back pocket, wasn't he?
He certainly was.
Nice staging that was actually. Robin Hartley. Robin. Jesus Christ.
Rob?
You can tell I'm or Rob to his mates. Cheers, lads. Look forward to I'm not saying the B word. I can't say the B word. Soon before a town game. Me too. I'll have to come across and watch a town game with you guys. Steve Pinder.
You won't turn up, will you?
Do it already. What do you mean? In my defence, mate, I was hanging today. I woke up. Do you know what? It's that annoying thing when you have a hangover, but you wake up and you go, "Oh, I'm all right. Hang on a second, I'm all right." And I got up and I went for a piss, and it hit me.
You're going to say something else there.
Yeah. We're still before 9 o'clock here as well, don't forget.
Yeah, quite right. That's right.
Give it 3 minutes and you tell us what you actually did.
Also this week, guys, Tales of the Groundhopper, we've got some great episodes coming out this week. We've got Chris, who is in the comments tonight. We've got his episode coming out Tuesday. We've got Ralph from the Czech Republic on Thursday, and then we've got Mark Harrison, the other lost boyo, all the way from Kuwait. I spoke to him yesterday morning. It was 12 o'clock his time, but all three of them absolutely fantastic episodes, if I say so myself.
Good.
Also, are you ready for the cringy picture, guys? Are you ready for this?
Go on in.
People of YouTube, I need you. Make sure that you're hitting the subscribe button. Make sure that you are sharing this with your friends. Make sure that you are getting this out there. I would have asked you lads to pose with one of them for me, but I think
you're wearing a pair of chinos there.
I am, mate. In fact, let me just go back. Yeah, they look quite trendy, quite neat. What a guy! What a specimen I am. But yeah, what a great show, guys. As I say, we're all waiting until 9:30 for that announcement. I think a lot of people are going to be.
The Prime Minister's getting involved now, by the way.
Oh, is he?
He says plans for Euro Super League would be very damaging for football, and he would support football authorities in taking action. So, it's serious when Boris Johnson talks a bit of sense, don't you?
Yeah. No, he's, that's not something you hear very often, is it?
No, not really, no.
But yeah, no, everybody who's been watching, again, it's the second week in a row where we've had so much interaction with you guys, and we really, really appreciate that. That's what we do this for. We want to hear your views. As we've said about this show is for the fans, by the fans, and it will continue to be that as long as you guys keep supporting it and come in and telling us your thoughts.
And Dan stays off the beer.
And Dan stays off the beer. And if you look in the top right corner, the countdown to the 90 is almost upon us. So I believe in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's... Full time, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. As always, remember, get your comments in the week. We love to get your questions. Do you know what, lads? We didn't answer that question that the chap said. We'll do that next week. I absolutely promise that because I did write down an answer for that as well.
You're going to blame your hangover for that as well?
Oh, Christ. I didn't fit. Honestly, if it wasn't for you two, the show wouldn't have happened tonight. So well done there.
What you doing next Saturday then? You're not having a beer again, are you?
Am I? Fuck. It's past 9 o'clock. I can say that. Am I? Fuck.
I would just speak up on your behalf here, Dan, because we did almost agree. Well, we did agree to limit it to 45 minutes. We did just say the first half tonight, didn't we? So you've done well to go the full 90 minutes. So a bit of credit back for you there.
Absolutely.
Honestly, and then I couldn't find my T-shirt. I was having I was nearly having a coiny meltdown, but I digress. Quick comment before we go. George Sandoval says crooked FIFA is going to tell teams not to do anything to benefit themselves. That's funny, really funny. Thanks for your comment, bud. We start at 7:30, so make sure you get yourself there for 7:30 next week, and we can interact a bit more with your comment. But other than that, guys, Vorney, Coiny, anything from you guys before we go?
Just as normal, thank you to everyone who messages in. It's the three of us. It's like the fourth man, isn't it? It's like the fourth man with these people.
I could have done with the fourth man telling me to go home at 8:30.
There is one thing that we didn't actually cover, and that was that there was some spectators back at Wembley today for the FA Cup semi-final. So that's all positive. Yeah. Really, really good to see, and hopefully we can see some more fans in games at all levels as soon as possible. Apart from that, thanks to everyone for watching as always.
Excellent. Well, guys, that's it. So as always. Are you ready, guys? It's coming. As always, be thinkers, not thinkers. Sayonara. Au revoir.